I'm always looking to work on things with expectations that are borderline unreasonable. What's up, guys? It is episode 4 of Coffee Break. You guys have been great with submitting your questions, so let's get right into it. We got a couple to answer today. How do you find such great craftsmen and professionals? This is incredibly easy to answer and difficult to execute. And the reason I believe that we have such great people working for us at NS Builders, both in the construction side as well as the millwork side, is because we've taken the time to really develop the culture of our company. And that doesn't mean anything beyond, standing behind what we believe in. I've always stood behind putting quality first and giving these guys the opportunity to really learn and educate them. And when mistakes are made, giving them the opportunity to learn from that and redo it. Always putting that first, the people first, and allowing these guys and girls to come and be part of a team and work together and have this camaraderie and really be empowered to be creative and think things through and bounce ideas off each other and not be insulted for it. Or, what's also great is that very early on, the technical side is, I think, one of the most difficult things to hire. It's, you want to run them through, like, how much do you know, how good of a carpenter you are, things like that. But oftentimes that's secondary to, are you a good fit from a personality standpoint? And we've had few people leave, and oftentimes those that do leave, just there's not necessarily an issue, but it's usually a personality or a culture fit or the mindset mentality, where here it's just so highly important for us to really be consistently positive, but really give a crap about what we're doing, and to a level that's almost unreasonable. And I think that's really what I empower in everyone that's in this team, and doing that, like when we were hiring, or when we're one thing I've always done, and I think a few people have talked about this before, is I don't put up a post or an ad saying, hey, help wanted, or looking to hire. We're trying to grab your attention, and if you look back, I think some of them was titled, your job sucks, so come work for us. And what I meant by that is a lot of the people that have come to work here have been in great jobs and have had opportunities to really excel in their career, but at the same time they felt as though they weren't going to be able to showcase what they were capable of because they were constrained by, you need to do it faster, or you need to get this done cheaper. Here, my job as owner is to sell the value behind doing things correctly and doing things right, and putting craftsmanship and quality first, so my guys actually have the time to slow down and do these things accurately and the right way. So saying that and doing that have to be consistent, and then showcasing it. So when we're interviewing people, they already know what we're showing, and then we can prove it by walking them through a job or introducing them to some of the other team members and allowing them to answer the questions. So I think talking the talk and walking the walk, as they say, is really important. If you're going to empower creativity, quality, and craftsmanship, then that needs to be through every single person within the company. And that is why I believe that we have such great people here. Second question, how do you build relationships with your tradespeople where you can talk through challenging architectural details and work together to come up with innovative solutions? And how do you cultivate the collaboration from subcontractors where they are willing to do more detailed work, put slightly more money into a job for a unique and quality product? That's communication. That is straight communication and setting the expectations up front. It's taken many years to get to where we are today, and I think back when I first started and I had the more normal, we'll call it, mentality of hey, this is the budget, can we get it done? Can you sharpen your pencil? Whatever it is, can you get it done faster? And through the years, realizing that I was doing myself a disservice, where I'm trying to bring a higher level of quality and craftsmanship, to a market that was, was operating at that normal level where it was always about price point. So in the early days, I think I made a lot of mistakes there, but now looking forward, I sit down with our subs and our trades and even the guys in the shop and in the field and walk them through this process. It's everything. It's everything in the walls, like, for plumbing and electrical and HVAC. We walk through with these guys, and we say it on the Modern Craftsman podcast. Johnny's talked about it. We want people to be proud of their work, regardless if it's going to get covered up in a wall. The question always is, can you stand back and look at that and say, that's the best I can do? And that is really, and it's not to be insulting, but it's just a reminder of putting really great work into, even the simplest of tasks, stapling wire on a stud, making sure that the Romex is flat, coming down with your plumbing pipes and the wall nice and straight and plumb. All of those things lead to a more satisfying experience, for them as individuals, but then the entire team. It's like cleaning up after yourself. If you clean up after yourself, the next guy is likely gonna clean up after themselves because they're setting the precedence there. So I think that's really what it is just communication and setting those expectations right up front. Question 3, would you have any advice on how to procure a workshop to start building and installing your own cabinetry? I don't know if I have advice, but I can tell you how we did it. So I had started with a garage when I had my company. It was, my family's garage. It was, basically kicked my parents out of the garage and used that as a workspace. And, it was one of those things you clean up and they park in there at night. And then I remember moving out when I got my own place and I was renting an apartment. I found someone that would rent me a garage, and it was just a garage space. And when I started my company, I knew I wanted to build cabinetry. So that became like my side hustle, where I was renovating or building during the day. And then at night, I would be building cabinetry and preparing millwork and, probably doing a less than great job at finishing it. I was very limited on the tools I had and the finishing, tools and equipment I had. Some of it was actually sitting in the shop over there. We use it for priming stuff, but certainly not finished materials. So it just was, I kind of kept growing from there. And when we moved into this shop, it was out of necessity for a handful of reasons. The garage that I was renting, I had way too much stuff to store in there. And they were also looking to rent it to someone else. So I had searched and looked at all these places, and I found something as cheap as I could, basically as cheap and as big as I could, that wasn't going to be much more than I was paying for my previous space. Even though I was looking in, closer to Boston, where we do a lot of our work, I knew I wasn't going to get that because I was going to spend a ton of money, and at the time, I wasn't really set up as a cabinet shop. It wasn't only until Ken showed up, where he was at a cabinet shop building, great millwork and cabinetry and high-end work, that he came in. We sat in this office, which was much different looking, and walked out in the shop, and it was literally a Delta Unisaw that we still have and a handful of tools that were sitting in the shop. And he looked at me, and I was like, listen, I'd love to build a cabinet shop. I don't know if I have the work for you, but if you're up for the challenge and you want to take a risk, then I probably didn't say that. I probably made it sound a lot more, promising. But he was in for it, and he came on board, and we jumped right into it. And shortly after we started, we looked. He came to a meeting one day and said, "Can we just make the commitment that every cabinet going into our projects going forward will be something we build?" And I didn't even question it. I said, "Yeah." And that my sales, the sales process with clients changed, and I explained that, hey, if we're going to renovate and build this house, we're going to build the kitchen. Or this is the master bathroom renovation, we're building the cabinetry for it. And we've expanded that into more of the millwork and more of the woodworking pieces of some of these projects, which has been great because we've been able to achieve really high level of quality and creativity. It's great to have a kitchen come together in the shop and realize that there's these micro details that, that looked great on maybe the drawings, but we are able to expand upon that in the shop and make it even better. So having that control and having that touch and feel every day of that process gives it that additional, really custom, bespoke experience for our clients. Do you ever feel like you've bitten off more than you can chew, feeling overwhelmed by a project, and do you just power through it, or is it scope adjusted, expectations tempered? Yeah, I think the way we operate, and specifically for me, I'm always looking to work on things that are with expectations that are borderline unreasonable. And because I truly enjoy the challenge, and I enjoy seeing the guys on the team really challenge through that. So yeah, I'd say oftentimes I feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew. As far as what I do in that situation, you power through it. I'm not going to go back and adjust the scope. If we're not going to hit a schedule, then we have to communicate that. If for whatever reason, which knock on wood, if we've ever been in a situation where we don't think we can actually accomplish it, we would have to communicate, and that's really what it comes down to, is communication. But I think one of the things, especially today, we have such a large network of people. We're building an elliptical staircase right now, which we all understand the basics of it, and we understand how it goes together. But there's guys out there that have done this hundreds of times, and having the ability to pick up the phone or shoot a text and walk through what they've learned, that's huge. And I think that's what sets us apart as a builder, is we've built this network of being able to communicate with people, and anyone that's listening to this has that opportunity. Anyone that wants to learn how to do something, there's thousands of people out there doing it and would be happy to walk you through it and help you, because at least for us and me, when someone asks me for advice on how to do something, I get excited to show that and then see them, tackle it and hope and pray that they can accomplish it to a better level than we can, because that's what's really fun and really gratifying in this. I think that answers your question, but at the end of the day, yeah, I think we bite off more than we can chew. No, I don't think we bite off more than we can chew. I think we feel like that, but then realize that this is totally obtainable, and we're going to power through this, and we're going to do a kick-ass job. So last question. I never understand why so many want to work on these jobs, client-based, for so little reward. Why not buy a property, use your skills, and sell it? I get this question. I've gotten this question a handful of times. I just really enjoy working with clients. There's something about taking their thoughts and dreams and what they're envisioning that space to look like, and then slowly transforming it into what they hope to see, for them to swing by, periodically and walk in and just be in awe. The development side, developing something and selling it for sale, I think I would actually have a lot of fun with that. I just think that if I did that all the time, I'm saying feeling a lot, but I feel like I would start feeling like I'm a cog in that wheel, where it's just we're building a product, selling it, where you bring the emotional aspect into it, and you're building a product, getting feedback while it's happening, revising that, trying to do it again, and basically tempering it all the way through. And at the end, hope that they walk in when you're doing your final clean and they're just floored. And I think that emotional connection it is so important, for me and a lot of my team. I think we tend to be emotional with our product, and there's a lot of emotion that goes into this. So when it goes wrong, it hurts personally. When it goes right, it's the same thing. It feels so good personally. So I don't think that developing is out of the question. I think it's very much in the question, but I think primarily we're going to focus on working with clients. Guys, thank you so much for these questions. I have a lot of fun answering them. A lot of you guys have asked about our podcast. So first off, I'm a co-host on the Modern Craftsman podcast with John Horahan and Tyler Grace. It's something we do every Monday. We have guests in the industry, and we talk about the ups and downs of this industry. And we have guests from a new builder to Norm Abrams, everyone in between. It's a really fun podcast to do. But additionally, we're actually going to be turning this coffee break series into its own podcast. So we'll drop a link below for that one. So if you guys don't feel like watching the video and want to listen, make sure you check that out. If you guys want to ask a question, drop it in the comments below. Shoot me a DM on Instagram, and we'll see you guys next week.